What's good, everybody? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. We're here. We're here. We're here. What's up? How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? We are into 2022. We well into it. You feel me? So we should be getting acclimated to the 2022 new year. How are y'all feeling? I hope everybody's feeling great. Everybody's feeling lovely. Um, if you don't know who you're listening to and what you're listening to, I am your host and Forgiven Homegirl, Courtney Moore, and you are listening to the Forgiven Podcast. I'm so happy to be back. I'm very, very excited about this year. I took a break as per usual. I do those things, I'm in school, so I'm still getting acclimated. Or not, I'm not even gonna stay still getting acclimated, okay? I'm just trying to be a good steward of my time and kind of prioritize. So I took a break at the end of the year, really honed in on school and my semester. And let me tell you, it paid off, sis. Okay. It paid off. Your homegirl ended the year or ended the semester with two B's and a C. Okay. I'm not mad at it. I'm very happy about it. Okay. I was telling everybody about my B in chemistry because if y'all only knew how long it took me to get here, very excited. But anyway, again, I'm your host and Forgiven Homegirl, Courtney Moore, and you are listening to the Forgiven Podcast. And I'm so happy for you to be here. If you don't know what the Forgiven Podcast is, the Forgiven Podcast is a place to have crucial conversation while bridging the gap between Christ and culture. I endeavored on this journey into last year, beginning of last year, and it was super, super fun to do. And so I'm keeping it going, and I hope that you all enjoy. So let's hop into the episode, okay? So let's recap. I know we didn't get to, really interact during the new year or beginning of the new year, whatever you want to call it. I didn't see y'all for New Year's. I didn't see y'all for the holidays. So I hope that everybody was good. I hope everybody had a great holiday, a great Christmas, Thanksgiving, all that good stuff. I did enjoyed my Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was a little bit different this year just because, COVID's still here. We can't It's 3 years in, he's still here. He's like that annoying friend that won't go away. He's still here. So it was definitely different type of vibe, but always happy to see my family, always thankful for the holidays because it could be so much worse. And I'm just happy that I got to spend it with my family and enjoy it. The new year, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. For the new year, I was in the house. I was in the house because I just didn't feel like doing anything, honestly. And I'm sad to say that I actually fell asleep before midnight. Yeah, I've settled in myself that I am just an old spirit. I'm 25 years old, but I'm just settled in myself that I'm an old spirit, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. But I was asleep before midnight. And so um, when midnight hit, I was waking up by fireworks and gunshots because I live in the hood. So, we got both. People was popping off and popping a firecracker. So that's how I was woken up to my New Year's. I woke up, said a prayer, said, "Thank you, Lord, for letting me cross over into the new year." And I went back to sleep. Yeah, that's how I spent my New Year's. So it was very uneventful, but I must say I enjoyed myself. I ate some good food. I binge watched some I Love Lucy and I enjoyed myself. I can't talk about anybody else, but Courtney enjoyed herself. So I'm just happy to be in the new year. And I'm very excited about the new year, honestly. I know a lot of people were scared or frightened or skeptical about what 2022 is going to bring. But if I'm honest, I'm very hopeful. What's the word? I'm waiting in anticipation for what God is going to do this year. I don't know about anybody else. And side note, just in case it's your first time listening, let me give you some background because I know some of the phrases that I've said may have you speculating. I am a church baby. Let that out there. I can't help myself. Some things that I say, you just tell that I grew up on the altar. I grew up in church. So a lot of the phrases and things that I say, um, those things are evident. So again, I'm very happy, very excited about what this year is going to bring. I think it's going to be an amazing year, honestly. It may look the same as far as us being in a pandemic, as far as us dealing with COVID. A lot of people have been passing away and things of that nature. We lost Betty White. Oh, we lost Betty White at the top of the year, sis. But can we be honest? Although we will miss her dearly, last of the Golden Girls, baby lived a full life. Okay. I don't know. I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, can't believe it. Yeah, she, can't believe it. But at the same time, she was 99. So although I was sad to see her go, I was just like, girl, you lived a full life. But it was sad nonetheless. I definitely binge watched Golden Girls for a good 3 days because, got to get my dose. But a lot of people have been passing away. COVID cases have been ramping up. It hit my family very hard. And, so it may look like a similar year, but I just am very excited to see how God is going to show out. Because just because the year looks the same doesn't mean it has to be the same, right? So that's what we're doing this year. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for the podcast this year, the episodes that are coming out. I really want to, as you can see, do something different. If you're watching me on YouTube, I might post this to Facebook if I can post it to Facebook. It might be a little too long to post to Facebook, but trying to bring you something a little bit different. See me in voice and in person because I know, I'm cute. So I would think y'all want to see my face. I just wanted to add a different layer to the podcast. So trying some things new and just really excited about the content, really excited about having the conversations because a lot of things have been heavy on my heart. Had a lot of topics I want to talk about. So I'm going to talk about them on a Forgiven podcast. And hopefully it helps somebody, it blesses somebody, and encourages somebody because we all know, or if you don't know, here's a recap. This podcast was made for the sinner. It was made for the unbeliever, and it was made for the believer that just, is struggling, wants to do better, wants to be better, wants to be transparent, open, and honest, and have a conversation so that we can stay a believer and we can stay in salvation. So that's why I created this podcast, why I created this platform, so that we can have crucial conversation to bridge the gap between Christ and culture, between believer and unbeliever, between um, sinner and saint, between all of those things that seem to have a gap in between, seem like they have nothing in common. I want to bridge that gap because at the end of the day, we have a lot of things in common. We have a lot of things that we can have a conversation about. And if we have a conversation, we will find that we struggle with a lot of the same things, right? So hopefully this year, if you have not listened to the podcast before, you become a what's the word? Avid listener. You tell somebody, you subscribe to the podcast, you follow the podcast on all streaming platforms, and you tell a friend because I just feel like if you're not telling a friend about the Forgiven podcast, you may be doing them a disservice. I'm just saying. I'm not throwing no stones, okay? Because I can't throw stones. But I'm just saying, if you're not listening to Forgiven Podcast, what are you listening to? Just a thought. All right, y'all. So per New Year habits, per New Year traditions, there you go. That's the word I like. Per New Year traditions, right? We at the top of the new year, end of the previous year, we start making New Year's resolutions, right? Everybody does it. You write down the goals that you may have for the year. You write down the things that you want to see, the things that you want to do. You just have a plan per se in mind. But this year, my little old self didn't do that, if I'm honest. I really honestly did not, I don't think I did it intentionally. Like I didn't intentionally not plan for the new year or not set any goals for the new year. But I think I was really, because last year I really ended the year off in a really, really great place. It started off a little, I started off. My ending started to be a little, but it came back together, and I'll dive into that in a completely different episode because that's a whole nother topic. But I ended the new year off on a really, really great note. I was telling my mom or having a conversation with my mom close to maybe it was like November or December. I think it was December because my semester had just ended. And I was telling her, I was asking her, had she ever been in a moment or a time in her life where she felt God shifting her position? And that's where I really felt like I feel like I am right now, presently in my life. I feel like I'm at a place now where I'm finally over a hump. I used to say that all the time last year. I can't wait to get over this hump. I can't wait to get over this hump that I'm in. And I really feel like in every part of my being that I'm finally over a hump and God is literally shifting me into the place that I'm supposed to be. And I feel like after not being, I know I wasn't stagnant, but after feeling stagnant for so long, feeling like I was moving my feet but not making any headway, I finally feel like I am. And I was just really just enjoying that moment because we don't enjoy moments enough. Honestly, we don't sit in our wins long enough. I know we live in a culture that's like hustle, 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 get to the next thing, always making money, always doing something. That's great. That's a great mindset to have. But I really want to learn how to enjoy my moments. And so I really just took the time to enjoy my moments, enjoy what was happening in my life, enjoy the shifting that I feel God doing. And so I didn't make any New Year's resolutions. So I was like 2 weeks in. Well, we're currently 2 weeks in. It's January 14th. I'm been like 2 weeks in, and I was like, yeah, I don't have anything written down, but I'm very clear on how I want this year to go. And yeah, not confused about that at all. So, um, I guess I just wanted to talk to you all about that because again, I didn't write anything down, but when you are solely committed to the purpose and the plan that God has for you, and He's given you clear directions before, I feel like New Year's resolutions aren't always necessary. That might be controversial. Don't shoot me. I know how you girls like to tussle. It may not always be necessary because New Year's resolutions, although they are great, they require you to basically, or people always go into it with like New Year, new me, New Year, new me. And, although the intentions are great, honestly, I didn't feel like it was New Year, New Me. I felt like it was New Year, same me, just growing up. Same me, just maturing. Same me, just building better habits. So I didn't go into the new year with like a laundry list of things I wanted to do. I just went into the new year with the mindset that I was going to keep the momentum going. I was going to make sure that I um got everything that was owed to me. To be honest, I've said it on my social media for a long time. I slept on myself. Your girl slept on herself. I was very insecure about my abilities. I was very insecure about what I could do, what I could accomplish. I was not confident in my abilities. I doubted myself more times and more often than I should have. And now I'm in a place where I don't have the time to do that. And I'm in a place where God has proven himself so much to me, and he has proven what I can do through him, that I just don't have room to not be confident. Sometimes I'm fearful, and that's one thing I did want to work on this year. Sometimes I am hesitant because of my fear, but I know what I can accomplish. So I didn't go into the new year making New Year's resolutions. I went into the new year wanted to keep the momentum going. I wanted to keep it moving, keep progressing, and all those things. So this year, I just want to talk about or tell y'all so that you know how we moving for this season of the podcast, what the plan is for this year. I don't have specifics yet because that's actually what I need to do this week is write down, an actual plan. Um, but the ultimate goal, because the plan can change, right? The plan can shift, the plan can evolve into something different. But what I want to be intentional about this year is, like I mentioned before, not moving in fear. I want to be intentional about consistency, and I want to be intentional about being obedient. I want to be intentional about not moving in fear because I've realized throughout a lot of my life that fear will overtly or covertly stop you from doing what you need to do. For some people, fear looks like literal panic attacks. For some people, fear looks like, talking yourself out of things, or fear looks like, it has a physical response and an emotional response because it's an emotion. But fear doesn't always look like an outward emotional response. For me, what fear looked is self-sabotage. Fear looked like I said, talking myself out of things. Fear looked like making excuses. And fear for me looked like doubting myself. And so I don't want to do any of those things this year. It's going to be hard because I believe that fear has become a big part of my makeup, and it has influenced a lot of decisions that I used to make or have made. But this year, I want to be ever so intentional about not allowing fear to stop me from doing what I want to do. And one of my devotionals that I read this week, it talks about how, um, was it in my devotional? It could have been in my personal prayer time. Either way I go, I was talking to the Lord in a moment. And I was reading a scripture, and I started hashing out how fear, when you start moving or you don't move because of fear, you're initially or essentially telling God that he's not capable of keeping you throughout. And you're essentially moving or acting as if God is not sovereign and God does not know what he's doing. And it checked me in a real way, because I never want to be in a place where I deem God incompetent, ever. I never want to be in a place where I am acting as though God doesn't know what he's doing. So, although I may be fearful, I cannot let fear stop me in my tracks. Fear is a natural emotion. Fear is an emotion that God gave us to have because it allows us to move with caution. It allows us to be smart, because in some situations you need to be fearful. And being fearful will allow you to be smarter and move smarter, and your fight or flight instinct kicks in. In those moments, it's great, it's necessary. But when it comes to my life and my purpose and what I'm capable of and what I'm doing, I cannot allow fear to stop me in my tracks, because I'm telling God that because I'm scared of it, you're not going to keep me. You're not going to cover me. You're not going to make up the difference. You're not going to do what you said do. And I do not want to move that way. I want to be so dependent on God this year. I want to trust him so much that I could be scared out of my mind, literally shaking in my boots, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to write the book. I'm going to submit the paper. I'm going to start the YouTube, start the podcast. I'm going to finish my degree. Whatever it is that you have in mind, that I have in mind, I want to make sure that I am not allowing fear to cause me to think that God is not sufficient. Number one. Number two, talking about the obedient part and making sure that I'm being obedient. I just want to listen to God. So oftentimes, like, we get these, I don't know, prophecies, or God has told you specifically to you, like what he wants you to do and how he wants you to do it. He's giving you the dream. He's made the vision plain. You've written the business plan down, but you won't move. And that's me. That's me. That's something I want to work on. Genuinely. Because there are so many things that God has given me to do. I was so happy that I was obedient about this podcast. So happy that I was obedient about my website, my blog, Underground Consciousness. But there's so much more that he's given me to do, naturally and spiritually, that I know will help people and that I know will encourage people, that I know will touch somebody's lives. But because of my doubt and because of my uncertainty, because I felt like I wasn't good enough, I wasn't qualified, that people weren't going to listen to me, that I really don't know what I'm talking about, all of these things play out in my head, and I wasn't obedient. I haven't been obedient. There are stuff that I've been sitting on for months simply because I just wasn't obedient. And I don't want to do that this year, because I know if I'm obedient, there is nothing that God will withhold from me. nothing. There are so many scriptures that tell you what God wants for us and how he sees us and how he sees us prosperous, the head and not the tail, above and not beneath, the lender and not the borrower. But we're not there because we're not obedient. And some people will say, well, that's just not what God, called for you. The scripture says different. And if I have not attained it, it's because there's something that I'm not doing, or it's a waiting game, but I have to be obedient. And for me, that's my goal this year, to be obedient in everything, like in everything. So just know there's a lot of things coming this year that I am very excited about. It may not be, a big old public thing, but I just know that I want to do everything that God has called me to do and be obedient. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Obedience is better than sitting in fear. And a lot of times I found, not even lots, I found, especially going through last year, when you're obedient, it feels one it feels good because you're not in rebellion with God. So that feels amazing, right? But when you're obedient and you do what he says do, and then you see the outcome, do y'all know how that feels to see um the outcome, or the what's the word I'm looking for? The repercussions, the good things that come from you being obedient. It just feels amazing. You feel great. You feel fulfilled. You like, okay, God, what else you want me to do? Because I'm here. I did that and it didn't flop. So I like how this is going. Like, I want to make sure I'm feeling like that this year. I want to make sure I'm doing that this year. And I know it will be hard because at the end of the day, the enemy will allow doubt to creep in, fear to creep in, self-sabotage to creep in. You'll mess around and talk yourself out of so many things. And yeah, but I just don't want to be there personally. So this year, 2022, we're being obedient and we're not allowing fear to stop us. And we're being consistent. Last year, I talked about consistency. This year, I talked about consistency. Why? Because fun little fact, Courtney is inconsistent. If you didn't know, for my future husband. Now I'm dependable, but I can be inconsistent. I'm loyal, but I can be inconsistent. I know. But it's something I'm working on. Past 2 years, I've been very intentional about being consistent. And it's paying off. So why not keep the momentum going? I'm gonna be consistent in everything. My prayer time, my personal study time with God. I'm gonna be consistent with my study time in school, consistent with my self-care journey. I'm gonna listen. The self-care gonna go crazy 2022. I don't know about anybody else, but the self-care about to go crazy. Consistent with my self-care, consistent with being obedient, consistent with just being consistent, because consistency is key. Okay, procrastination ain't it. Doubting yourself ain't it. When you keep consistency at the forefront of everything you do, one, it builds better habits. It builds so many better habits, y'all. I've I'm not gonna brag on myself, but I will say I've a lot of improvement. But consistency builds better habits. Consistency will allow for the bad things to fall off and good things to be created. So let's be consistent. I'm gonna be consistent this year. What about you? Are you gonna walk in, you know, non-fear? That didn't make sense. It did make sense. Are you going to walk without fear hindering you? Are you going to be consistent? And are you going to be obedient this year? Are you going to trust God this year? That's really what the goal is. I don't have any New Year's resolutions. I just am going to be intentional about those things. And wherever God takes me is where I'm committed to going. I have a plan in mind. Your girl is still in school. I have the podcast. I have the blog that I'm going to be posting on again because it's been a while. I said consistency. I'm doing better, but we're gonna get there. Um, but I have a lot of things that I'm doing. I have a lot of things that I'm excited about, but I have to be obedient. I have to be consistent, and I cannot let fear stop me this year. I cannot be the person that talks myself out of things. I cannot be the person that self-sabotages. I have to be intentional. So I hope that you all will be intentional with being consistent, with being obedient, and walking without fear this year. And I am excited for what is coming for us. I'm excited for what we're going to do in 2022 because honestly, a lot of people are going to try to make this year um similar to last year. They're going to say, oh, it's the same year. Oh, I'm scared. Ooh, I've seen a lot of posts like, oh, I'm tired. And I get it. It's only 14 days in and it's been a doozy. But it does not have to be like last year. It could be so much better. And I am adamant on making it better. I'm adamant on walking into 2023 with a bag, with major purpose, and with major passion and plan for what God has for me. That's 2022. That's how we walking out of the year. So if I'm gonna walk out of the year like that, I gotta start now. So that's what we're doing. Forgiving podcast. We elevating. We not treating this year like last year. And we're just enjoying. We're having fun. Like I said, my self-care about to go crazy. So I hope your self-care is going crazy. I hope that your prayer life is going to go crazy this year. I hope your study time with the Lord is going to go crazy this year. I hope you're increasing in wisdom this year because I am. I hope you are. Don't forget to tell a friend about the Forgiven podcast and your Forgiven homegirl, Courtney Moore, because we are here for you. I am here for you. Why am I saying we? Like it's extra people in the background. I do this myself. This is a one-man show. Okay. I am here for you every Friday at 9 a.m. Okay. 9 a.m. Friday mornings. This first podcast of the year will come out a little bit later, but that's fine because consistency says doesn't matter what time you get it out, just get it out. So we're on it. We're doing it. Okay. Thank you for listening to the first episode of Forgiven Podcast. I am again your host and your Forgiven homegirl, Courtney Moore. And we will see you in the next episode. Bye.